Okay, so my name is Sky, and this is my idea for my massively multiplayer online game, uh, Sword for Hire. Now, this is just an exploratory because I had these concepts in my mind, and I just wanted to try to flesh them out and see what would happen if I put them in a realistic environment or a semi-realistic environment. Part of the concept for the game is that players can log on and establish ownership over land. Um, but it's a bit more than that. There's like a simulation aspect to the gameplay that I'm envisioning. So while combat-wise, it's skill-related and what skills you want, you more or less can decide or tell the computer to be responsive. So, if you keep using a certain type of weapon, it's going to uh, there will be a program that'll say, oh, okay, then I want to increase the skills in that type of weapon. Or if you keep engaging in a certain activity, it'll increase the skills in that activity, that sort of thing. But I wanted right now to discuss the shape of the land, and in particular, a scenario that I keep playing around with in my mind of, so what if I uh, went out into the middle of the empty forest and just created uh, a town out of nothing. So what would that entail? Now, the way I conceive of uh, the landscape would be little squares, little blocks, and each of those blocks would essentially be wherever, or what the smallest crossroads would be. And as a result, by knowing that, you can establish and think, okay, so that's the smallest piece of land. Um, so let's say that I, as a player, get an NPC, and there'll be there's loyalty, which is going to be a factor for the NPCs, and that comes in handy for things like bribery or coercion, even, because I really kind of want to let players do as much as they want, even to the point of you could even coerce people, coerce NPCs into doing things, and that's part of the aspect of there'll be families involved, and so you could conceivably go in and kidnap a family member of one of these NPCs and force that NPC to either reveal information or to do something for you. But that's a whole uh, other aspect of the gameplay. So if I was a player and I went out to a big forested area and said, okay, hey NPC, guess what? You are now the mayor of a new community. Well, I want to start right there. This is where I want you to start the first crossroads. Go from there. Now, there will be a program that the game and the computer would have that would start following. So the first thing it's going to do is establish a little private residence. Now, what I envision would be a little 2 by 3 square. You'll have one space that is the entranceway, one space for sleeping, one space for, that would be the vault storage, one space for working, one space to grow food in, because the one thing I'm thinking is that there has to be a piece of land attached to an NPC, or the NPC basically has to have a support thing, and that would take the place of food. But if you have essentially a piece of farmland, that piece of farmland can support one NPC or one resident of that community, um, and that's what's going to tie that person there. When if you, but the thing is, farmland has a value, a level to it. So, and then there would be farming, which I'm not going to have a player engage in. That's a totally NPC arrangement. But the skill level of the farmer and the quality of the farmland would be two factors which would come together and determine, okay, so if the skill level is X and the quality of the land is Y, X plus Y, or X times Y, I should say, is going to produce Z amount of food, and therefore you can have Z amount of population in that community. So that's part of the concept of ownership. So, and something else is that a crossroads, my vision of the game is that wherever you have a crossroads, you would have bulletin boards develop. But in particular, wherever you have like a main crossroads. But I'm just thinking that, yeah, wherever you had two roads cross, the space basically adjacent, not facing into, maybe facing into the center of the crossroads, but adjacent to each side would be a bulletin board looking device. And it's there that players could access a sort of intranet. Wherever these roads connect to, they will form a larger intranet. So if you establish a community or even a whole nation, all the land that is connected by the road would be thus connected, and have like information would be shared amongst the different message boards. So the concept goes on like that. Anyway, so back to this little community. So the NPC is told, okay, I guess like this last little square would be for a horse. So the NPC is told, hey, you can, this is the crossroads, go ahead and start a community. So the first thing that NPC is going to do is create a little 2x3 hovel, little place to live. So he'll, and I imagine that it would require no resources to set this up. So the NPC is using twigs and sticks and branches to create a little fenced-in enclosure. So that visually that's what it's going to look like. There'll be a little gate, and then he'll have a little tent-like structure, and whatever other structures to add. The quality of where the NPCs live would be determined by skill and also availability of resources, and it would reflect as well what sort of abilities that community has in terms of what it can produce, what it can acquire, population increase, different things like that. So this NPC player or NPC says, okay, well, first thing I have to do is begin increasing the population, but in order to do that, I need to invite people to come in. So he would go about and build 3 more hovels for new NPCs to move into, and as well as extend out the road network that forms. So then the next thing the NPC would do is go out and start recruiting. Now, if the player gave the NPC money, that could be used as an incentive to make people come in. Otherwise, the NPC would go out and find poor people, or because as soon as there's no food to take care of an NPC, any new NPCs produced, it's like whatever sort of mechanic that works, you would have poor people, because part of it is that there's going to be bandits, there's going to be enemies, mobs for the players to interact with.